I pulled together what I think are some of the top trends in digital marketing for 2010. Just a note, people ask me this a lot, how do I keep up with digital tech? And the simple answer is you have to immerse yourself in it. You have to take time to read the blogs, to participate in Twitter, to be on Facebook, to see what brands are doing. I actually wrote a blog post a few weeks ago with some tips on how to do that. So if you guys are curious, I'll publish this deck on SlideShare. So if you guys are curious, you can read that post. But anyway, so from my experiences being fairly immersed in the digital world, I see kind of 3 areas of focus where these trends are emerging. And the first is sociability, which is about the way brands, companies, and consumers can relate and speak with one another online. The second is content, which is about the types of information and data that we consume and how it's relevant to us. And the third is interactivity, which is the ways in which consumers touch, see, feel, and hear digital devices and interfaces. So we're going to look at those 3 areas, and again, because we're limited in time, I've highlighted 2 trends in each area, and we'll kind of talk through some examples and some case studies. First of all is sociability. If you are sick of hearing about social media, I have bad news. It's not going away. It's only increasing. And the reason that's happening is because consumers are increasingly embracing social technologies. They're embracing them in terms of the idea that they're using them. I mean, the Facebook numbers are astronomical, but they're also embracing them as a new way of kind of talking to each other and to brands. There's some crazy stats on that. If you look at Razorfish, they have a report called the FEED report, and they talk about something ridiculous. It's like 80% of all consumers who are online have left feedback about a brand online. So it's really, really becoming strong. So what that means for us is a few trends. First is listening and engagement. And I actually love this quote from Alex Bukowski. You can't buy attention anymore. Having a huge budget doesn't mean anything in social media. The old media paradigm was pay to play. Now you get back to what you authentically put in. You got to be willing to play to play. And that's really true. So just as a little background on why this is so important, there's an effect called digital primacy, and all that means is that the internet is basically the first point of contact for most consumers when they interact with a brand. And traditionally people would say, oh, I think that's true for big purchases. Someone might go online to research a car, but they're not going to go online to research toothpaste. Well, we have data that now shows that that's not true. The search volume for a word like shampoo is comparable to the search volume for a brand of car. So people kind of use the digital world as a resource for almost every kind of purchase they make. So that makes it really important for every company to listen to what people are saying about it online. The conversations are happening whether you're part of them or not, so you must at least listen to understand what people are saying. It gives brands some opportunities, like they can predict shifts in sentiment, they can identify problems, they can identify opportunities for new products. So it's just really important to be there, and I have a few examples. This is actually kind of cool. So the Dell Inspiron Mini 9, in 2008, the existence of it was inadvertently leaked when Michael Dell was seen taking it out of his laptop case, I think at an airport, by a tech blogger. So they didn't mean for the news of it to even go out. But so what happened is instead of trying to quash the rumors, they listened to what people were saying. And they did a few things. They would help them understand what people were expecting from the device, what specs they expected. And then also they were able to kind of come into certain conversations that had really bad misinformation and strategically correct those. And so they actually honed the device a little bit based on this leak. And it really helped them in terms of the success of the launch. So the other side of the coin to listening is engagement. So even if brands aren't, I think listening is critical for everyone. Some people will argue that engagement doesn't work for all brands. I'm not sure I agree, but I think it's, maybe there's some arguments there, but if a brand does decide to engage, it can really benefit from having this kind of direct and honest line of communication with its customers. Again, from this Razorfish FEED report, there's some great stats. 97% of consumers said that a digital experience affected whether or not they purchased a particular product. So that's pretty interesting. Engagement is not all win-win, though. There's a give-take ratio, which I love, which is that the longer a brand waits to join online conversations, the more it has to offer back to the community before it can promote itself. So you can't just jump in and say, buy, buy, buy. You have to jump in and kind of talk to the community and engage with them in a way that's valuable before you can promote. A cool example is the Affleck duck on Facebook. Affleck is an insurance company. It's not a particularly sexy category. But they have their mascot who has a Facebook page, and he just kind of updates with interesting information, tells about contests, promotions, etc. And what's fascinating is that they've got it to a point where they use it so well that their Facebook page receives more interaction per fan than Ashton Kutcher, Miley Cyrus, or the top 10 product pages on Facebook. So that's kind of one of my answers to people who say, oh, you know, it's for a potato chip brand, it doesn't belong in social media. Well, you know, this is insurance and it's a duck, and they did pretty well. So some key takeaways: the conversations are happening online. Brands don't have a choice and they don't have control. They do have an opportunity to engage. And just also failing to listen is a major missed opportunity, and it's going to cause problems when there is a crisis, as we've seen a lot of brands go through recently. Second trend for sociability is influencers and word of mouth. And this is another kind of thing that I think has shifted with digital, which in broadcast media, messages are really blasted to everyone equally. But online, you kind of have this situation, there's so many options and so much content. And I love this example. Does this idea pass the I'd rather be looking at pictures of kittens test? There's an alternative, which is, does the idea pass the I'd rather be looking at porn test? Because the internet is full of kittens and porn, and what are you really competing with? So it's important to kind of identify who's the loudest voice, because that can be a really good way to talk directly to your consumers by going through an influencer, because there's trust there. So you have to kind of understand that not every consumer has the same level of influence online, and it's important to identify who are the influencers first and tailor your message for them, and then allow them to distribute it to their audience. So a cool example is the Ford Fiesta movement, which has been getting a lot of buzz lately. Basically what they did is they held a contest for 100 people to win 6 months of having the Ford Fiesta free, and as well as free gas and a whole bunch of other stuff. And in exchange, they had to blog, tweet, and talk about the Fiesta the whole time they had it. So actually some friends of mine ran this promotion, and they had a contest on YouTube where they had people submit their videos of why they should be part of the Ford Fiesta movement, and they picked the people with the most followers on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, I mean, with some quality control, obviously. And what has happened is Ford didn't spend any money on this for traditional media. They spent it all for this social media program. And now 37% of their target is aware of the Ford Fiesta, and it hasn't even launched yet in the United States, just through the social program. So literally by targeting 100 people, giving them free cars, which is a relatively small cost compared to running a full traditional campaign, they had some huge success. So key takeaways for sociability. The first step is really understanding who the influencers are. And it's not about talking to your audience, it's about talking to the people who talk to your audience, which might be different. And it really only works if you treat people with respect. I think one of the cool things about the Ford Fiesta movement is they didn't censor them at all. They told them they could say whatever they wanted about Ford and about the car. And the thing is that if someone gives you a free car, you don't really say negative things about it anyway. So they didn't feel the need to kind of have a really, strong legal process to filter it. They let people say what they wanted, and because they were honest and transparent, it worked out really well.